Are we live? Are we live? What up, people? It's your boy, the house with the most. I do not brag or boast, and I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy, I'm Chris the Don One. Welcome to another fabulous rendition of Based on a True Story podcast. As always, rate, comment, subscribe. Share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. You heard me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me clearly? All right, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Can I get a good testing in? Hose up. Can y'all hear me? Hello? Oh, yeah. Y'all can hear me. What's up? Okay. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of you guys that have been paying attention to these episodes. Really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. If you guys want me to talk about other things besides my story times, please hit it in the comment section or the community tab. Okay. If you follow me on social media, you can contact me that way as well. Okay. Without further ado, this episode will be called Playing Dumb and Actually Dumb. Playing Dumb and Actually Dumb. All right? So basically, I was working at this job. Now, I'm pretty sure the story I'm about to tell you guys, the statutory of limitations has done ran its course. So everything I'm telling you guys, it's not like I'm snitching on myself, it's not like I'm ratting on myself. Nothing you can do about it. This has been over and done with. Okay? You dig? Okay? So I was at this place. I used to work at this place, all right? And it was a graveyard, okay? I was doing it because, hey, a guy got to hustle, guy needs money, and the guy got to do whatever it takes to get that money, all right? By any means necessary, Malcolm X, by any means necessary. So, I was working at this place doing graveyard, and the job itself sucked. And the reason why the job sucked is because, first and foremost, it's graveyard. Who wants to work graveyard, all right? But it was good money, and I just justified it. I just said, hey, look, it's good money. I'm just gonna work this until I don't have to work it no more. Okay. Now at that time I was working 2 jobs. All right. 2, the employees there. The employees were weird. Okay. Let me tell y'all something about graveyard. If you have never worked graveyard before in your life, hear me and hear me clearly. Stay away from the graveyard. Okay? Because the graveyard has the most unusual characters imaginable on this God-fearing planet we call Earth. Graveyard people hit different than regular shifts. Okay? Graveyard employees hit differently than co-workers in the morning time or people in the evening time. Graveyard employees, it just hits different. Okay, so the job itself sucked, and I had to work around a bunch of people that some unusual characters. Okay, I don't know what's good with people that work in graveyard. They're not sociable. And they're always miserable. They're always miserable about themselves. They're just miserable about life, okay? Look, I understand. Life is like a roller coaster. It has its up and down. It has its moments, and it doesn't. It has its positives. It has its negatives. But these people, like the people I used to work with at graveyard, their life was so bad, they was talking about offing themselves. I'm like, God damn! How much of your life has to suck that bad where you contemplating to yourself, you ready to off yourself? But see, they'll say it in a casual, funny way, but they meant that shit. That shit came from the heart. Like, it's just weird to me. I ain't never been around a group of people like this, okay? And 2, it just to me, it's just weird. All right. So they're not sociable. They're always whining and complaining about their lives, and then they want to off themselves. Okay, whatever, cool. I'm not saying all of them, but there was a few of them that was like that. Some of them have, it's like they got CTSE, like, it's just one moment, they all happy-go-lucky. The next moment, they're ready to just, you know, kill everybody in the place, okay? They just had weird up and down type attitudes, weird up and down type personalities, okay? Anyway, I just did, I said to myself, I'm just only working this short time. I don't have to deal with these people long term. Like I said, you got to get in where you fit in. You got to get your hustle on by any means necessary. Malcolm X hold with the fist hold up. By any means necessary, we got to make this money. We got to earn these coins, okay? So, I was working there, and I was like a cashier, and they would be open 24 hours. The another thing about Graveyard is the weird customers that will come in there. They're not like average customers. This is not like customers that wake up in the middle of the night. They go to the restroom and go, oh man, I ain't got no toilet paper. Let me go. I know such and such is open. Let me drive down there and get some toilet paper. Or, kid needing some Lunchables. Oh man, I gotta get some Lunchables before the kids go to school. It's not like those type of customers. These are the weirdest customers imagine. First of all, they all stink. I have never met a customer that came in that didn't, smell godly. It was ungodly, okay? They always smell like cigarettes, cigars. It's just a weird smell, man. They had a weird vibe about them. It's like every time, when a customer comes in, it's like they're, ready to do wrong. They ready to do bad. As soon as they walk through the door, they automatically just start looking around. Like, why are you looking around? Okay? Like you casing the joint. Okay? So I had to deal with those type of customers. Two, the shoplifters. There are more shoplifters on Graveyard than there are on any other shift. But the only difference is, you just can't bother them. If they steal something, they just steal something. Me personally, I'm not going to jeopardize my life for someone that's stealing a pack of cupcakes, okay? Or they got chicken in their backpack. I'm not doing that stuff, okay? Now, I'll go as far as a brief description. I'll write it down on a piece of paper, and let the manager know the next day, whatever the case, okay? But I'm not going to go above and beyond what I don't have to do and be, tussling with somebody all because they try to, steal some Robitussin. If they want to, hey, look, do what you got to do, man. Just don't get me involved with it, okay? So that was like an underlining rule with me and the shoplifters, because it was always the same shoplifters. So we had this, we had this understanding, okay? You don't bother me, I don't bother you, okay? Please, don't bother me, I ain't gonna bother you, okay? If you're gonna steal, the high profile areas, go steal at your leisure, okay? But don't get me involved in it. And when there's and then the co-workers, they will come tell me like I'm the police, like I'm the security guard. I'm not the police, I'm not the security guard. You can do the same thing what I'm gonna do. Just write down your brief description and that's it, okay? I'm not tussling with no shoplifter, okay? Because you don't know what that shoplifter is capable of. That shoplifter probably got a weapon on him, got a knife, a gun, whatever. I don't want to deal with that stuff. Plus, I'm not going to win no award. I'm not going to get no money out of this, no extra money out of this, okay? So, it is what it is. We had that understanding. Don't bother me, I ain't going to bother you, okay? So, like I said, I was working there. I was working there for like maybe a year and 2 months, okay? Maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure. It was brief. It was very brief because, hey, I had to get my hustle on, all right? That's the negatives about working there. The pros of it, it'd be like a lot of dead time in between purchases. Like, you might check somebody out at around 10 o'clock at night, and you probably don't see another customer or check anybody else out until like 2 in the morning. All right? So it's a lot of dead time. So during that time, man, you can, read a magazine. You can whip out your phone, play video games. You can, surf the interwebs. You can watch YouTube videos. If you want to go even further, you can watch some, adult activities, okay? You can do whatever because ain't nobody gonna bother you, okay? So it'd be like a lot of dead time you can do that. Plus, when you take your lunch, you're supposed to take a 30-minute lunch, but you could be gone for like an hour. You could be gone for like an hour, maybe 2 hours, as long as you clock out, okay? Only person that's gonna hurt is your pockets. That's the only person that's gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt the company. It's not gonna, it's gonna hurt your check. If you wanna take a 2-hour lunch, you can take a 2-hour lunch. Just bring your tail back, okay? And those are the times when I took long lunch, is I'm going to some girl's house, okay? I'm going to some girl house. So, I might get lucky and, go to some girl house that, I've been hollering at, we go kick it, have fun, and I might smash, okay? Might smash, may not smash, okay? So that was an advantage as well. So like I said, I was working there for a while, and it's not like I was purposely doing this, but you start noticing shit when you at work. You ever do that when you at work? You be noticing shit. Like, okay, this person, sometimes they'll walk over here, but they'll come over here, but they don't come over here all the time. I'm talking about coworkers. You start, picking up people's habits. Because people don't realize this or not, but people do the same thing every day. They do this. They do the same thing every single day. All right, and I can almost about 80% of the time I can almost predict when somebody was gonna come up front. Okay, like this dude named Jack. He did the floors and stuff, but sometimes he'll come up front, read a couple of magazines, and like clockwork, he will read those magazines, and not just any magazines. He will pick up the magazines, like he'll pick up like Gun Life and celebrity type magazines. I can pretty much predict what magazines he's gonna pick up and what time he's gonna come to read these magazines. Okay, you start picking up people's habits. Okay. Just like this dude that worked in the meat department, like he doesn't do it every day, but it's like on Tuesday, Thursday, and I think one of the days in the weekend, either Friday or Saturday, he'll come and buy a pack of cigarettes, and he will buy the same pack of cigarettes, okay? It's just you pick up people's habits. You start going like, okay, this person's going to be here in about 10 minutes. That person's going to be here. And then your usual customers, they will shop pretty much at the same time. So then, after a while, you start working there. You start picking up people's trends. You start picking up people's habits. You can pretty much predict when somebody is going to come in the store, the usual customer, what time he's going to come in the store, what he's going to purchase, your the co-workers, when they're going to come up front, what they're going to buy, what they're going to do. You start picking up everybody's tendencies, okay? So that's what I was doing. Now, I wasn't intentionally doing it, on purpose. I wasn't purposely, looking to pick up the people's tendencies. It just happens, there's nothing else to do, okay? So you have to occupy your mind, okay? Now, another thing I noticed, we had like this old school surveillance camera, okay? This old school surveillance camera. It wasn't no modern camera. It wasn't no up-to-date camera. It was always in the center, okay? So The first thing I noticed about this camera is it didn't move from left to right. It wasn't motorized. And it was one of those type of cameras where you can position it. Okay? So sometimes I would see the manager before he leaves and go home, he will position the camera in a certain angle by using this dust mop. Now, for those who have not, been in a retail store or a factory or whatnot, a dust mop is like this long handle broom, and there's like a mop. It's like a mop, but it's not a mop that you soak with water. It's like a little sponge that picks up dust and stuff like that. So I would see him take this broom and angle the camera in certain areas of the store or like pointing at me, whatever. Okay. Now, those are things I would always pick up. I would pick up these things. I'm going like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? So you also started noticing, like, you just start noticing shit. All right. So, you know how you have a thought in your head? After you start processing information, you start having thoughts in your head. And I would have a lot of thoughts in my head. And I'm going like, wait a minute. I know when the usual customers come in. I know when my co-workers, when they come up front, you start noticing shit. Okay? So, another thing I picked up is, depending on who was the person in the office, see, at the end of the night or at the end of the day, whoever closed the office has to clear the tills of the money that they worked that day, the money that they made that day. They would do an audit on all the tills at the end of the shifts. Okay, and I knew like the older managers, they would do it. Like the older people that's been there, that they just have it. It's just a force of habit. They just automatically count the tills. Okay, but then occasionally they would be off, and then they'll let some younger person do it, and then they'll be on and off with it. Sometimes they will audit the tills, other days they don't audit the tills. Okay, and the older ones will have the same days off. Okay, now there was this lady named Myra. She would have Tuesdays and Thursday off. And then there was this other older lady by Betty. She would have Monday and I believe Friday off. Okay, so I knew I was good, like good food on the days that they're not counting the tills. So they'll normally give that to somebody like somebody that don't often do it. They have to count it. Okay, and there was one person like clockwork would constantly do the same thing. They would just not count the tills because they wouldn't have time to. They don't have time to count the tills because they gotta go pick up their daughter. Okay, so they'll just leave the till uncounted, and then they'll just wait. They'll just have somebody the next day come in the morning, and then they will count the tills. And it was just their habits. You just start picking up people's habits. So then I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm processing all of this information. I'm going like, wow, on this day, they do this. On this day, they do that. I'm processing all of this freaking information. So then I say to myself, you get a weird thought in your head. You like, and then the thought comes out, you know what, Chris? You can possibly get away with stealing some money. I'm going like, huh? At first, it's just a thought. But then, your conscience will tell you, it's not worth doing all that. Losing your job, going to jail, paying a fine, ruining your reputation. It's just not worth all that. Because I was scared. You know, I was scared of jail because that's the only thing that kept me on the straight and narrow. It wasn't the fact that I was a good person or I was raised right, which I was raised right. It was just I was scared of going to jail because you be seeing all these documentaries, you be seeing all these movies, you be seeing all these TV shows. Jail is not a good place. Prison is not a good place. Okay, and I don't think I can do 8 years in prison. Now, that's thinking like if you have a choice. But if you're going to prison, you really don't have no choice. You're going to do it regardless. Okay, so I was on that tip. I was just too scared to do anything illegal because if I get caught, I have to pay the consequences. Okay, so but still, every day I have these thoughts like, you can really get away with this because of what you know about this place. Again, I wasn't casing it. It's just when people do stuff in front of you, when people play in your face and do stuff in front of you, you start picking up people's tendencies, you start picking up people's bad habits and things of that nature. You have a mental note in your mind. Like, wait a minute. Okay, he does it at this. He does this at this time. She does that at that time. Sometimes this person's not dependable. Sometimes this person is dependable. You start picking up shit. You dig what I'm saying? So the thought came in my mind. You can really steal money from this place. You can really steal money from this place, and nobody would be the wiser. Okay, so. It started as a thought. Then I started mapping and planning stuff out. Okay? So the first thing I did was start developing trust with a lot of people. And like there was this old manager, he would close at night. So I would tell him like, hey, if you want me to start sweeping the store, I have plenty of time to do it at night because I really don't have nothing to do at night. And he said, oh, thank you. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Okay. So I put in his head that I can sweep the store. Okay. So when I started, helping him out on that end, I started developing trust with him. So he would tell me to do things. He would tell me like, hey, I gotta go home early. Can you do me a favor, Chris? You've been so good to me. Hey, we supposed to have these cameras angled a certain way to monitor what everybody's doing at work. Can you do me a favor, Chris? Can you do that? I'm like, sure, I can do that. Ain't no big deal. So I seen him do it, and he did it in front of me. So I started, he would go home, and I would start positioning the cameras and stuff. Okay. And I was doing that for a while, okay? So I started, with my co-workers, I started to really take mental notes on when actually who comes up front to do what. And I start, really paying attention and start taking mental notes on that. Then with customers. So I knew when the usual customers would come in, but sometimes, there would be customers that, you never seen them before, they're new, they just come in, okay? So you can't predict that. But they would always tell me when I take a lunch to lock the door because the co-workers in the store at that time did not know how to run the register. He said, long as you let them know that you're taking a lunch, you can lock the door or get someone to lock the door for you. And at first, they was locking the door for me. So then I kept telling the manager, hey, sometimes when I want to take a lunch, you know, so and so, it takes them forever to lock the door behind me. So can I get a key to lock the door? And then they'll go, yeah, sure. They'll tell me where the key's located at. Sometimes they'll put the key in the drawer for me. Okay. So I started to develop trust. I started to develop trust in a lot of these people. All right. So then I said to myself, if I don't do it on this certain day, then it's not going to happen. Because if I do it on any other day, then, this might happen or that might happen. And, I'm starting to weigh in the options. Okay. So I said to myself, this is the day I'm going to have to do it. Okay. Which was a busy day. First of all, it had to be a busy day, because in order to get any type of money, it had to be a busy day. So this was a busy day. I said, if I don't do this now, then I'm probably gonna have to wait a while longer. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. All right. So here we go. All right. It's end of the shift. Same manager, same old manager, same young kid that's supposed to be doing an audit. Like clockwork, I knew he was not going to audit the tills. I knew he wasn't going to audit the tills because he never have audited the tills. He just left the money in the tills. All right. Then the older manager, since he developed trust in me, he kind of trusts me. He went home early because he said, "Hey, be sure to move the camera to look at produce." All right. I'm like, okay, I won't forget. So he leaves. He said, "I'll talk to you later." Cool. Because I told him I could sweep the store for him. So I left the camera as is. I swept the whole entire store. All right. When I got done sweeping the whole entire store, that's when I took the broom mop and angled the camera where he told me to angle the camera at. Okay. It's away from the registers. All right. I knew what time the co-workers were going to come up front. So I went on, took the key out of the drawer, I locked the door. Didn't tell any of my co-workers that I was going to lock the door. I locked the door immediately. I went in my till. I went in several other tills. I put all the money. I put all the money in one envelope. Okay, one of those money pouches. All right. Now, when you take the money pouches, you're supposed to slide it into the safe. So I'm up here grabbing all the money, and I put it in a pouch, and I was getting ready to put it in the safe. But before I and at that time they had, I put the vouchers and all that stuff. I was getting ready to slide it in, and then I had to stop myself, and I went, wait a minute. If I put this money, if I start to slide all this stuff down here, then they're gonna look at the tills, and they're gonna find out that my number was signed to all the tills that I opened. All right. So I said to myself, nah, that ain't gonna be a good plan. So I fell back on it. So I put the money back in the tills. Okay, I put the money back into the tills. I took my money and everything else that was in the till, and I left $100 worth of change in there. I took my money and everything else that was in the till. I walked it to the safe. Right now, I slide it into the safe. But before I slide it into the safe, I had the money on top in the pouch. I slid the money out the pouch and put the pouch in the safe. All right, because I wasn't even sure if there was like hidden cameras in the office, stuff that I don't see or they didn't tell me. But I want to at least go through the process of me putting it in the safe. So I grabbed the money, and then I walked back to my register and I slid it into my pocket. Once I got close to my register where that camera was at the top, I started sliding the money into my pocket. All right. So after I did that, I act like I was standing there getting ready to wait for for someone to be checked out. I stood there in the restaurant. I said about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I walked to the door, unlocked the door, and it was just like a regular night. Then everybody started, the usual customers started coming in. The co-workers that will occasionally come up front, they did their rounds and all that ish. Okay. So a day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by, didn't hear nothing. I'm thinking, I'm scot free. All right. But I wanted to save the money for just in case. Like, if they had a hidden camera, saw me do this shit, I'm saying to myself, damn, if I gotta have some type of bail money, I gotta have enough money for a lawyer. If shit goes the wrong way, I gotta have some money to back me. All right. 3 or 4 days go by, I ain't hear shit. Okay. So I put in my head that, well, maybe the tills were off. And, it takes a while, like if a till is off, it takes them a while to get the actual balance because they got to redo the numbers and all that shit. So that's what I'm thinking. All right. So after 2 weeks, I'm going like, damn, I must have got away with that. All right. 2 weeks. So I'm at work thinking I done got away with that shit. All right. So I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm going to go ahead and start spending this money. Because it's been like 2 weeks. Ain't nobody said shit. You dig what I'm saying? So, like clockwork. I'm happy. Here comes 7 o'clock. I'm getting ready to clock out. And as I'm getting ready to clock out, I noticed one of my coworkers said, hey, they need to talk to you in the office. I'm going like, oh, shit. So I already knew what they were going to talk to me about. Okay. So I go back into the office and the store manager said, hey, did something unusual happen like 2 weeks ago? He told me the day, the date, and everything. And I'm going like, no, it's just like business as usual. And I asked him, I said, what's going on? He said, oh, nothing. We just, it just seemed, he didn't say that they lost money. He just said that, stuff is missing. He just said stuff was missing. All right. I'm going like, okay. And he said, well, that's all. So I left his office. Okay. So as I'm going home, I'm going like, wait a minute. I think the jig's up. Okay. So you know how you be at home and you be thinking to yourself, man, maybe they already know what's going on. Maybe he wanted me to confess to something. Should I even go to work? Because if I go to work, they might, slap me with cuffs or whatever. They might bust me at work, okay? And that's kind of embarrassing. You dig what I'm saying? So now I'm contemplating on whether or not I should even go to work. But then I said to myself, if I don't go to work, then they're going to know for sure I took it. So I'm just going to go to work, all right? So before I went to work, I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, hey, Pops. I told him, I said, hey, if something happens to me, you don't hear nothing from me, I might be, I told him, if you don't hear nothing from me the day after, then you might want to go to the police station. And he said, why I got to do all that? I said, I don't know. I think, at first I'm lying to my father. I don't know. I think they're trying to pin me with something. And I told him about what my store manager said when he pulled me into the office. So he said, okay. He said, but you didn't do nothing, so you shouldn't have to worry about nothing. I was like, yeah, I didn't do nothing. So next night, I clock in, just like I always clock in. You dig what I'm saying? Business as usual. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. None of that shit. I'm working the whole night. Everything is normal. You know. This time the camera is pointing at me. So, I'm asking the closing manager, do he wants me to move the camera? And we said, no, we got to keep the camera this way. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay. So the camera's pointing at me the whole night, Everything's cool. Nobody ain't talking to me, nobody ain't giving me these unusual, uncomfortable looks, and nobody's acting weird and all that bullshit. So I'm going like, okay, this might be a smooth night. Okay, I said around about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I saw a group of people walk in. I've never seen these people before in my whole entire fucking life. It was a female who was big, white female that was big, smoking cigarettes like she had a chimney to her mouth. She came walking in, and she just looked around. She just looked dead serious. And then there was this country white dude. Okay, so they both came in the store, and they came straight to my register, and they said, well, who's in charge? I told them who was in charge, all right? They said, could you call them to the front? I'm like, okay, cool. So I called Paul up front because he was in charge. He was like the acting manager. He wasn't really a manager, but he was just in charge, all right? So Paul comes up front, and they having a conversation to the side, but it's so far in the distance, I can't hear them, okay? But they talking real, real low, okay? They talk for like a few minutes up front, and then they walk to the back of the store. I didn't see them none after that. So I started to do some investigating. I'm trying like, man, somebody ought to know who these fucking people are, all right? So I'm asking all the old school co-workers that work there. Come to find out, these two work for LP, Loss and Prevention. I'm like, oh shit, okay? So they go to the back. This is like around 2-3 o'clock. I don't know what the fuck they doing back there, all right? So 5 o'clock, it turns to 5 o'clock. When 5 o'clock turns around, the store manager comes in. I'm like, damn, what the store manager doing here this early? He don't get here until about like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, all right? So he comes in, and then I say, hey, what's up? And then he goes, hey, but he said it, hey, in a weird way. He just gave me a weird vibe. I'm like, oh shit, I think it's about to go down. Okay? So I said to myself, I'm gonna just stick this out. Because if I run, then they're gonna call the police on me. And then now I know for sure, I'm just guilty. Why would you run if you innocent? So I said to myself, look, I'm gonna stick this out. Okay, I'm gonna see how this plays out. You dig what I'm saying? So there was this other guy that came in. He had like on a blue shirt, and he asked me where the office was. He didn't look like no cop or anything, so I point to him where the office was. Okay, cool. So it was like around about 6:30. Okay. I noticed Myra came in. She normally comes in around that time. So when she comes in, she clocks in, she goes to the office, then the phone rings. So the phone rings, she picks up, and she's talking to somebody on the phone. Now, as she's talking to somebody on the phone, she gives me this quick eyeball look. And I'm going like, oh, okay, this is it right here. So she hangs up, get out of the office. She walks up to my register. She said, hey, they're going to need to talk to you in the office. I'll, watch your register. I'm like, okay, cool. So as I'm walking out my register, as I'm walking to the office, I noticed that she takes the till out the register and take it into the office. Okay, I'm going like, oh shit. Okay, so this definitely gonna be it. This gotta be the day. You dig what I'm saying? So I walk into the office. Man, it's a bunch of white people all in this office. Okay, all in this office. It's just like, It was like a 30v1. Okay, now I know how Drake feels like. You know, now I know how Drake feels like a 30v1. Okay, so I walk in. They say have a seat. So the lady says, "Do you know why you here?" And I'm going like, "Nah, I don't know why I'm here. I'm playing dumb. I know what the fuck why I'm here, but I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm not gonna make your job that easy. You dig what I'm saying?" So she said, "Well, I'm so and so from LP, and this is so and so from LP, and we it was." And she said the day and the date. She said it all. At this time, at such and such time, and on this date, there was I forgot how she said that shit. There was an incorrect balance on your register. Okay, it shows that your register was actually over. Over. She said actually your register was. She said actually your register was $560 over. I'm like $560 over. And I'm going like $560 over, okay. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a plus, right? If my register is over, then it's good. Okay. She said, but the other two registers are like, one was like $200 short and the other one was like $3 something short. In other words, it equal to the amount that my register was over. And I'm going like, oh shit. So I started thinking in my head, I'm like, I probably done took way too much money out and I forgot to put the actual amount of money in each register when I put it back in there. Okay. So I'm trying to think real fast. I'm like, oh shit, they got me left to right. So after we audit your register again, come to find out that your register was short. Okay, but she wouldn't tell me how short it was because I got the amount at home. And I'm thinking to myself, if she says this amount, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and be used in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you do not have assets to get an attorney, one will be appointed to you, okay? Do you understand these rights? The right to remain silent, okay? So I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna say this amount. If she says anything close to this amount, I'm keeping my motherfucking mouth shut. Okay, I ain't saying nothing. Okay. So I said, how much? Okay, so if my register's short, how short is my register? And she said, well, that's the issue. We know your register's short. We just don't know what amount it is at this time. Now, she could probably be bullshitting me right now. Or she might be telling the truth. Either way, I'm not taking a chance either way. Okay? So they was asking me, so tell us, what did you do that day? Okay? So I said, okay. So I clocked in. I got my till from the office. She said, okay. I got my till from the office. I put my till in the register. Okay, cool. That everybody's on pace with that. She said, so did so and so did an audit and took the money from the previous cashier before you put your till in there? And I'm gonna be completely honest with you and completely transparent. I don't think he did, because when I came in, he was not here. He said, what you mean he was not here? I said, he was not here. You know, normally he leaves early. And I think I slipped up when I said that shit, but I didn't. Actually, that played a role in why they couldn't put nothing on me. Said, like I said, on previous nights he normally leaves. Okay, so he leaves early so he don't have time for the tills. And he said, is this true? Store manager don't know what to say. So he immediately calls Myra. Myra, he said, "Hey, Myra, this particular day at this particular time was so and so scheduled here." And they say, "Yeah, yeah, what was his schedule? Such and such, such and such." Uh, Chris is over here telling us that he wasn't here when he got his teal. And she said, "Well, that's probably true because sometimes he leaves early, okay? Because he goes to college. He wants to, leave early so he can get ready for college to go for his classes the next day. So that might be true. So as she was talking to me, the other guy that was from LP went into the other office and he went into the time sheets. He went into what time people clocked in, what time people clocked out. So he looked and he came back and told the lady he's actually telling us the truth. He did leave. He left before Chris even got here. Okay? So they're going like, okay, we didn't know that. All right? So they said, okay, so that means that there was money in the till. When you put your till in there, there should have been some extra money. All right? Did you see any extra money? Which is a great question. Now, I said to myself, should I tell them the truth? Because if I tell them the truth, then this still can somehow stick on me. So I told them a lie. I said, no, there was no money in that till. The only money that was in that till was my till. And I only had $100 in my till. And whatever money I accumulated from that shift, that's the money that was in the shift. Curious enough, they counted my till. My till was on point. It was about 30 cents off. Okay, no till's gonna be perfect. It's either gonna be 30 cents off. It's gonna either be -30 or +50. Okay, it happens. All right. So they look at they said they didn't audit on my till. They said, come to find out, your till was correct. It was actually 30 cents off. Okay. And I can remember why it was 30 cents off. I took a coupon from this customer, and instead of going back and forth with them, I just went on and just took 30 cents off of their order. So I know why my till was 30 cents off. Okay, cool. All right. So they said, are you sure there was no extra money in your till from the previous shift? I said, I'm sure as I can be. There was no money in that till. So then the guy walks back out, okay, and brought back this disc. Okay, I'm going like, what the hell are you bringing a disc in here for? So he gets ready to put it in the computer. And then the guy in the blue shirt said, hold up. He said, hold up. Before we go this far, I would like to speak to him private. Okay? So they didn't stop right there. Everybody just left the room. So the guy in the blue shirt said, hey, look, I'm from the union. You probably don't know me. He said his name, such and such, such and such. He said, now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you what they accused you for, which I already knew what they accused me for. They accused me for stealing money out the till. Okay? Now, as far as the union goes, we protect everybody's job, but the two things we can't protect anybody's job on, and you should understand this, is theft. Theft, there's nothing we can do outside of that. Now, if you took any type of money, just let me know. And, if you still have the money on you or whatever, if you give the money back, they may not press charges, but I can't guarantee you that. Okay. So I told him, look, I didn't take no money. I don't have any money. Okay. So and then he said, well, I'm just going to just go by your word. I'm just going to believe you off your word. Now, they're going to show you a video of you at your register. And he said, I'm going to tell you something. Once they play this video, we can't undo nothing. We can't go backwards. We're going forward. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is there something I need to know? I said, there's really nothing you need to know. I said everything what I had to say while everybody was here. Low key, I was sweating inside because I'm thinking to myself, are they gonna show me a video of a hidden camera and it shows me taking the money? Cause I'm sweating like bullets. You dig what I'm saying? So I said, if I tell them, then I know for sure they're gonna call the police on me. If they got a video of me doing it, I'm gonna go to. They're gonna call the police on me anyway. Okay, so either way, any decision I make, I'm going to jail. So I might as well just ride this lie out until the wheels fall off. Okay. So he says, okay. So he knocks on the window. I guess knocking on the window means everybody comes into the room. So everybody comes into the room. You feel what I'm saying? So like clockwork, dude plays the video. And what did the video show? The video shows me at the register just standing there. Now it shows me a few minutes later. It shows me on the register playing on my phone. Then a few minutes later, it shows me on the register. It showed me on the register clock checking out customers, checking out employees. That's pretty much all the video showed. Okay, the video didn't show me. The video didn't show me taking my money and taking it to the safe and all that other shit. Okay, didn't show none of that shit. Okay. What they didn't know, what I knew, was they're showing footage from the camera I done moved a long time ago. Okay, that's all the video is showing. It's showing after I moved the camera. Okay, so they looking at it, and they looking at this video close. They looking at it so close. They done magnified it. Every time I open up the register, they'll magnify it. They'll magnify it to see, okay, maybe he's slipping. He's taking the money out of the register as the register open. They looking at this video hard. Shows that I ain't touched no money in the till. Not a single time in this whole duration of this video. All right. So what they were banking on was me committing to something without using the use of the video. So they said, I tell you what, we're going to come with our final opinion in the next couple of days, and we'll tell y'all what we're going to do after that. All right. So the union rep told me, hey, I'm going to talk to your manager. After a couple of days, if something serious happens, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be honest with you. If you see me come back, that's not going to be a good sign. That's not going to be a good sign. Okay. It's not going to be good news. Okay. So 2 days go by. Didn't even see him. Didn't see him once. Didn't see him at all. Now, during them 2 days, they exclude me from the register. So basically, I was just standing there. All I did for 2 days was just clean up the store, maybe help them put stock on the shelf. As far as the register go, I was not allowed to be on the register. Now, Paul, that was in charge, he had to run the register for 2 days. Okay. There's no reason for me to be up front in the office or the register. They told me I cannot go any of those places. So I did what they told me. I said, cool. All right. 2 days go by. Okay. They called me to the office. I said, this ain't good. This ain't good at all. So I go to the office. And all it is the LP lady and the store manager. And then the LP said, after our investigation, basically they don't have nothing. But they still digging into me like, hey, is there anything that you forgot to tell us that you now know that you didn't tell us? Some bullshit like that. Okay. Basically, they want me to snitch on myself. I said, I written y'all a statement. I answered all y'all questions. There's nothing else for me to tell y'all unless y'all want me to, say the same thing. Because I always kept remembering to say the same thing. Don't switch up the story. Don't change the stories. Don't change the story. Don't add to the story. Just tell them what you've been telling them. And that's what I constantly kept saying to myself. Tell them what you've been telling them. So that's all I told them. Okay. So the store manager says, well, the store is still short. The store is still short. And, after the investigation, you know, uh, at the end of the day, the money's missing. Now, either it was missing through an bad accounting or theft, whatever. The store still lost money, and he was basically talking about how when the store loses money, and this, that, and the third, yada yada yada. All I know is they couldn't put that stank on me. That's all I know. They couldn't put that stankology on me. All right, so I work my shift. I go home. I'm so excited I couldn't even go to sleep. Okay, I could not go to sleep. I could not believe I got away with that one. Okay, if I would have done that 1,000 times, I probably would have been busted 99.9%. It was just that one time it worked out. Okay, that one time it worked out. Now, that was a pretty big stash of money that I took, I must say. It was a pretty good stash of money, all right? And since this was my second job. I was working two jobs, paying the bills, just getting by and shit. I just used the rest of that money. I just used that money, to pay anything that I was behind on, which wasn't too many bills that I was behind on. I got me a little game system. I got a better television. I had some play around money, and this, that, and the third. Matter of fact, I called out the next day. No, wait a minute. I worked, then I called out the next day. All right. So from that day on, they would watch me. They would really watch me. And then all the privileges that I had, I lost them all. So now, management was doing the stuff that I was doing for them. I didn't have the key to lock the door. So if I took a lunch, I had to go get Paul to lock the door behind me. Okay. So they stripped me from all that stuff. And and after that little situation happened, I worked there for like another 5 months. And then I put in my 2 weeks notice. I said, you know what? This was like a little part-time job. It was no big deal to me. But, and they knew I wasn't going to be there forever. So I quit. And you can just, how you quit, you give your 2 week notice to your store manager. I gave my 2 weeks notice to that store manager. He still had the same look on his face like he had when they had me back in the office. Like, he knew I took it, but he could not figure out how I did it. Okay? Because, he overplayed his hand. He thought I was so dumb that, hey, ain't no way in the world he's that smart to pull a fast one on all of us like this. And it wasn't the fact that I was smart. It was the fact that I was very observant. I was just observing everything. And they had flaws in their system that they don't realize. I don't know if they still do these things. Okay. Or, it was just you can take advantage of a lot of their flaws that they did wrong. And, when I put in my 2 weeks notice, he still had that same look on his eye, like, man, I know you took it. I just can't prove that you took it. Okay. But yeah, the statute of limitations of that is gone. That was the first and only time I was, thinking like a criminal. Okay. Thinking, and I was on the after that, I was on the straight and narrow. I was just too scared to attempt that again. Like most people, like they think, okay, I got away with this one, then I can do this somewhere else and get away with it. See, that's how you get caught. Okay, that's how you get caught when you're trying to do the same plan at a different location. It may work here, but it may not work elsewhere. Okay, so yeah, that is my story to that. Okay. Um. So let me. If y'all got any comments, I'm so sorry I didn't read none of y'all comments. Actually, y'all don't have any comments. That's cool. That's cool. It's all good in the hood. Uh. Yeah, that's it. So I like to thank all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel, that hit the like button, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate that. Now, the reason why I'm telling y'all this story, I'm gonna add context to this story. The reason why I'm telling y'all this story is not to promote you guys to go out there and do wrong. You should do right. You should be on the straight and narrow, do right. You shouldn't be taking money from people, because this story could have ended worse than what it did, than the way it ended. And just because it happened to me in a good way doesn't mean it's going to happen to a good way for you. So learn something from this story. Don't do what I did. Because nowadays, you can't get away with that stuff. They got like cameras everywhere. I recommend you guys keep your hands to yourself. Don't develop sticky fingers. Don't be taking money at these locations, because now they're pressing charges. Okay, and they done changed the law, especially they can make that into a federal crime. Okay, so yeah, man, y'all, y'all do right, be right. Okay, so this is not no story that I'm glamorizing anything. I'm just telling you guys, just be on the straight and narrow. Don't take nothing that is not yours. Don't develop sticky fingers. Do the right thing. Okay. So I'm up out of here. I will talk to you guys later. Deuces. I'm up out of here. Based on a true story podcast, we'll be back at its regular scheduled time later on tonight. I don't know what I'm going to talk about later on tonight, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. I'm up out of here, deuces. I'm gone.